All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to your first animation project for the class. This one is a classic. It's the bouncing ball. What we're going to be doing is creating a bouncing ball loop. So we're going to have the ball start at its top height and then fall to the ground and bounce back to its original height. So we're going to ignore one aspect of reality, right? You would gradually lose energy and gradually settle if it were in the real world, but we're going to just have it so that we can have a looping animation and be impressed by our amazing skills of squash and stretch and slow in and slow out. Now I'm working here in Krita. Remember, it doesn't matter which software you're using, just as long as you get the principles in place and create the finished product. So I'm not really demonstrating this software. I'll maybe point out a few features as we go. But remember, it's your responsibility to figure out how all of this stuff, such as setting keyframes and using different brushes, how all that works in your particular software package. And I can help you out in class during studio time if you still need some extra help. Okay, so I've already created a brief setup here, nothing fancy, just I give myself a little sky background and a ground, and I put those on separate layers. So the sky background is here and I've locked that, and the ground layer is here and I've locked that, so I can't move it or add anything to it right now. And then this last layer here is the ball. Okay, so I'm going to use this pen over here, this brush, and going to set it at a nice big height, or a big brush size. So in this case I'm going with like a size 100 pixels, just so we have a nice size. And I'm not going to use my my stylus here for that. I'm just going to use the mouse, just like most of you have. I do apologize that you're going to have to spend a lot of this time looking at the top of my head. It's just, this is where my tablet is down here, so as I'm concentrating, you won't see me. But I'll try and keep checking in with the cam. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is see that we're going to set our looping time at 24 frames. So if our frame rate is 24 frames per second, we want the ball to bounce one time every second. That's our timing, how long the animation takes, the timing of it. So I'm just going to set this to 0, my start frame, and my end frame right here to 23. Right? If you think it's like backing up 1, so 24 minus 1 is the 23. So on that first frame of the animation, I'm just going to decide what the top of my height is going to be. Let's say it's right there, and I'm just clicking. Nice big brush, got a ball. Cool. So I'm going to jump all the way over here to frame 24, and I'm going to set another keyframe, which that deletes the bulk, right? Because this is it's like a new drawing on this layer. But I want to be able to make sure that it comes back to the same height. So I'm going to turn on what's called onion skinning, which is going to show me however many of the prior frames and the following frames at the same time, kind of in a dimmed out, different color, so that I can place things accurately. It's a lot like what traditional animators did when they had paper that was slightly see-through and they could flip back and forth and see where things were so they could line it up better. In animation software, it's called an onion skin, like peeling back the layers of an onion. And then to turn that on for a particular layer in Krita, you have to actually enable that little light bulb. So you can kind of see there's that dimmed out version. So I'm on frame 24 with a new keyframe, and I'm going to put it in the exact same spot. Boom. Okay, so now it's going to be a nice loop as it goes from 0 to 23. So we are on our way. If I hit play right now, nothing will happen because that's all we've put, just starting and the ending. But I've laid out my timing for the whole animation. So now if I go to frame 12, right in the middle, just make sure that it's right in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another frame there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So frame 12, right in the middle, 24 divided by 2, will be the ball on the ground. Okay, so all I have to do is add a new keyframe and line it up, make sure that it ends up on the ground. Or if we wanted to be even more careful about it, we can copy what's on this frame by right-clicking, copying to clipboard, and then right-clicking here and saying paste from clipboard. And then I'm going to grab this move tool down here, and I'm going to hold down the shift key so that I can't move side to side. And I'm just going to bring it all the way down to the bottom. That way I am perfectly there. Okay, so now we actually have animation. If I turned the onion skin off and I had it pop on, boom, 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 boom. And yes, sound effects are necessary. They make animation more fun. You'll have a lot better time if you add sound effects as you go. Okay, so this is maybe what we might call neon sign animation, where it blinks on and blinks off. And yeah, okay, technically it's animation because right, we have 3 drawings and there's movement in between. It's animation. It's not very smooth. It's not very interesting. We're going to do a whole lot better. So now what we want to do is let's start working on these in-between frames. Okay, and working that process is called in-betweening. Right, we're working on the frames that are in between the key poses here. So I'm going to go to the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that frame right there, and then again, just make sure it's right in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. And I'm going to click a new keyframe, which deletes it. It's a new drawing, but I'm going to copy, right? So I'm going to copy, and then right-click and paste from clipboard, and then hold down the shift key. And what I don't want to do is put it right in the middle in between. If you guessed that that's where it would go, that's a really good guess. But remember that gravity is acting on the ball and it is accelerating, going faster as it goes down, which means that it has to, it's not at its full acceleration yet at that point. So I'm going to actually make it be less than halfway. I'm going to turn on my onion skinning there. So I'm just going to put it maybe something a little bit more like that. So it has a little bit more hang time at the top, and then it's going to get really fast as it goes down. Okay, and now that's going to be exactly where it is on the way up again because of how we've set it up, right? Where it's just going to the exact same height again. So why don't we just save ourselves some work? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's the frame. Going to make a new keyframe there. Going to right-click, copy, right-click, paste. So now this is our animation. Still blinky, still like a neon sign, but better. We've got more things in between. Okay, making good progress. All right, so let's work on the top of the animation here. If you were thinking, hey, at the bottom, isn't that where we're doing the squash and stretch, like from the video? If you thought that thought, good for you, right? You're getting it. But I'm going to add in squash and stretch just a little bit later so that we can work on some of this other stuff first. If you want to work on the squash and stretch first, that's great. That's up to you. I mean, it definitely is the fun part of this, but we'll save some of the fun part. The frosting on the cake, we'll save it. All right, so I'm going to come back up here to frame 2. I'm going to skip one in between. You can animate on every frame. That's called animating on ones, but that's a lot of extra work. And the human eye really isn't going to pick up on it in all situations. And in this case, where it's just kind of hanging at the top, we could probably get away with animating every other frame, which is called animating on 2s. So let's try it. Okay, I'm going to make a new keyframe, which deletes it. And if you're wondering, okay, why was this one blue and this one, remember, the prior frames are shown in blue, the following frames are shown in red. It helps you line up your animation. So I'm going to copy what's on this one, going to right-click, paste from clipboard, and what I want to do here is I want to just move it down just slightly, ever so slightly. Okay, it's hanging there. It's always in motion. It's not ever still. It's not a ball in ice, but just a little bit. And I'm holding down the shift key so I don't move it side to side. Whoop, Control Z. I moved it first, and just a little bit. You see how it's just barely there? That ghosted onion skin image. Cool. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. Again, skipping that one here, animating on 2s. So going to add a keyframe, right-click, copy to clipboard, right-click, paste from clipboard. Okay, and I can see it actually did move slightly. hit undo a couple times there. And just line it up a little bit better. There we go. Cool. So if I turned off onion skinning right now, you can kind of see this is how it goes. Top, slight difference, right? You see it just slightly. And then down, all the way down, mostly up, almost at the full top, and finishing. So if we played it, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, feeling good, liking it. Okay. I'm still seeing that it's moving just a little bit over. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to skip a frame again, animating on 2s. Make a new keyframe. Copy this one. Paste it. And now we want to move it down. Not halfway between these two because it's going to be accelerating, so it has to favor the frame prior. Okay. All right, so it's going to start to go faster here. Maybe something like that. Cool. All right. So now on this side, we're going to add a new keyframe. So on this side, it's going to be doing the same thing. So I copy and paste. And let's turn off onion skinning for a sec just to see how it feels. Nice. Okay, so we have the beginning and the end of our animation pretty much set in place. So now let's see, we can do, yeah, let's just finish this part up easily. So I'll turn on the onion skinning, new keyframe, click, and then right click, copy to clipboard, click, and then right click, paste from clipboard, grab that move tool, and now the spacing here needs to be wider than this spacing right here because it's accelerating. And do the same thing here on the other side. New keyframe. Copy that one. Paste it. Turn off onion skinning. Play it. See if it feels good. Yeah, liking it. All right, so now we get to play with some squash and stretch. So make a new keyframe. Copy. Paste. So now here is where we got to turn onion skinning back on. We're going to have the maximum squash or maximum stretch pose right here. So the first thing we need to do is move it down. And we're going to have to grab a different tool that will allow us to change its shape. Okay, or you could redraw it with a brush tool if your software doesn't have this. So what I want to do is I want to stretch it. But one thing to remember with squash and stretch is you have to maintain the volume. Okay, the object doesn't all of a sudden get more mass to it. It doesn't get more stuff inside of it. It has the same amount of stuff. It's just stretched. So if we stretch in one direction, we have to kind of squash it in the other. Okay, so maybe something like that. And then back to the move tool, and we want to put it on the ground. Okay, the max stretch has this point down here on the ground. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go, we want to have the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to make a new keyframe, copy this one, paste this one, and now we have our stretch. If I turn off onion skinning to play it, okay. Now it doesn't look great yet because on this one we should actually do the squash now. So instead of the full ball shape, we want it smushed. So it's just like the stretch shape, just in the other direction. So it goes from squash, or from stretch to squash to stretch. Okay, so this one we're going to grab again. We're going to grab that that tool. Turn on onion skinning again so we can make sure our ground stays consistent. Also make sure your center point stays the same. Okay, that feels good to me. So it goes from the ball coming down. Whoops, I changed the wrong frame. So I'm going to undo. That's the frame we wanted to change. So let's do that again. So stretch, squash, stretch. Yeah. Cool. Onion skin off. Play it. Boom. Cool. So you could be done here at this point, but in this case, I'm going to do this section here. I'm going to animate on ones. I'm going to add in 2 more frames on either side, just so that I can get a smoother transition. Right now, it feels like it pops a little bit from the stretch to the squash to the stretch. So I'm just going to add in 1 additional frame on either side. So I'm going to turn my onion skinning back on. I'm going to copy this one, copy to clipboard, paste from clipboard. I'm going to grab this stretcher tool, and what I want is kind of somewhere in between those two as it's going from one to the other, like that. And it'll be the same on the other side. So I'm just going to make a new keyframe there, copy this one, paste that one, and I think that will smoothen things out a little bit. There you go. And you have a bouncing ball. All you have to do now is export it, file, export, and you are good to go. Turn that into your finished assignment. Okay, so I want to wish you good luck. If you find that you did this really fast and it was easy for you, you can add extra embellishments if you like. Maybe when it hits the ground, maybe it creates a dust cloud. Poof. If you weren't sure what I meant by embellishments, or if you want an extra challenge, I did 2 possible things that you could add to your bouncing ball animation if you want. I'm not going to show you how to do them because that's part of the challenge to see if you can figure that out. But basically what I did was I added some environmental response to the ball bouncing, and I added a kind of highlight on the ball. So I'll just play that for you so you can see what that looks like. Definitely makes things a whole lot more fun. This environment's like it's like a goopy sand that the ball is bouncing off of. Notice how, like, by adding these extra things, I called the ball a he now, right? It's as if this thing has become a character, and that's exactly what animation means, right? It means to bring something that is inanimate, that is not living, to life, as if it has a thought process and a spirit to it, an animus. So just what I will do, I'm not going to show you like the exact frame by frame process of how I did it, but I'll walk you through the frames, right, just so that you can kind of see. Right? I added a highlight. See if you can figure out how to do that in your program. And going through through frame by frame, and then you can kind of see it collides. Whatever the stuff is spurts out, and then as it jumps up, right, there's a little burst of it, and then the loop repeats. So give it a go. You could add other things. You want to throw a seagull in there, or a shining sun, or clouds that are moving, or waves coming in and out. You have to gauge what your level of confidence is, and I'm excited to see what embellishments you add. Just don't forget that the main assignment is, of course, the bouncing ball. All right, good luck.